ज्ञानी निर्मल शुभ्र वस्त्र बसवली त्या श्वेत पद्मासनी शोभे उज्ज्वल गौरवर्ण नटरी वीणावरी नाचे चित्रमयूर पाय कैहा जीरंगली गायनी देवो संपत्ति ती सरस्वती विद्या Hello. Please put your phones on silent before starting and do not bring small children today. If you have a dog, please carry it. Otherwise, we can buy them from other school. Thank you.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी Hari Om. I am glad that all of us are in here and not caught up out there right now. It is a very pleasant weather to have the Gita Pravachan. The only thing is when there is so much of greenery, while sitting through this Bhagavad Gita, you will be expected to donate some blood. Mosquitoes will be there. So adjust with that. With the Shubharambha of as soon as we started to have the rains, we begin with this third chapter. First chapter happens to be the Vishada of Arjuna. Immense sadness that he had to go through. The sadness was because of his wrong identity or losing focus of his responsibility. Why did he lose focus of his responsibility? Purely because of his wrong identity. And he got severely in a panic attack, almost to a depressive mode. And when emotions are thus heightened, one should not make serious decisions. But Arjuna goes ahead and makes a very serious decision. The decision of not wanting to participate in this fulfillment of his responsibility. He wanted to take the life of sannyasa and lead bhakshacharyam to go on to the streets after having taken sannyasa and lead the life of begging alms. So Bhagavan Krishna, as a very good teacher, as a very good listener, allows Arjuna to come out with all his emotional trauma that he has. If you observe the first chapter, there are three speakers: Dhritarashtra, Sanjaya, and then Arjuna. Once Arjuna starts speaking, Bhagavan Krishna does not stop him. He allows him to express completely. There should be at least one person in our life wherein we can understand that we are not being judged. That is our safe place. At least to vent out, let alone to have advice. Unless somebody asks for advice, it is not valued if you give that advice. Now, many of us have the habit of jumping in and say, if I were you, I would do such and such and such. Yes, it is an effort from our side, but never appreciated or valued. So he waits for Arjuna to complete his entire dialogue or monologue, and then looking at the condition that Arjuna had gone through, he wanted to test him a little. Is he available? Or if he is seriously in a panic attack which cannot be repaired immediately, then the next measures have to be looked into. So he tests him a little. Klaibyam mas magamah partha naitatvayupapadyate kshudram hridaya daudbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. In fact, Swami Vivekananda loved this shloka so much that he said, that day that was Arjuna and he benefited from it. Today it is a call of clairvoyance to all the Bharatiyas. Klaibyam as magamah partha na etatvai upapadyate. That this kind of apathetic lifestyle wherein we are not taking responsibility for our own samskriti, we are behaving like Arjuna. When this was said, Arjuna knew very clearly what Bhagavan Krishna was pointing towards, and he reacted very loudly. And Bhagavan Krishna was smiling in his heart. Why? Because he is reacting. Reacting meaning he is available. The damage is not that deep as Bhagavan Krishna had envisioned. If he is reacting, that means he is processing things. If he is processing, then he is available for a repair work immediately. So after that, Bhagavan Krishna systematically takes every single logic that Arjuna has provided in the first chapter as to why he should not fight. Bhagavan gives a very beautiful systematic analysis as to why those standpoints are wrong, and then gives a corrected perspective as well. Thus, having given the correct perspective, Bhagavan almost in the end of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he says that this has to be handled with an equipoised mindset. You cannot lose your balance like this. And then Arjuna asks for clarification. What do you mean by an equipoised mind? Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhisthasya keshava sthitadih kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Now to answer him, the next 18 shlokas, the last 18 shlokas of second chapter, Bhagavan spends on how a man of equipoised disposition functions in the world, rooted in the adhyatma, rooted in the self. Now Arjuna is confused. Arjuna is confused. And the beauty is, it is a dialogue. It is a samvada. See, whenever there is a discussion happening, the best mode is samvada, samyakvada, wherein there is a good possibility of both sides to be heard with an even mind. Samvada. Otherwise, there is tarka, kutarka, vitanda, jalpa. These are not very profitable means of conversation. Tarka, logical. Sometimes it doesn't take the emotions and heart into consideration. Vitarka, completely wrong analysis. Vitarka or kutarka means the same. Then comes vitanda. Vitanda is a wrong standpoint, and to justify that wrong standpoint, you would go to all ends to constantly justify whatever you have chosen. Then comes jalpa. Jalpa is foolish argument. The usual saying is, the rabbit has 3 legs. Now, frustrated with that kind of a fellow, you bring a rabbit and show him that rabbit has 4 legs. But this fellow will not agree. The rabbit that I saw had 3 legs. He will not give up. Whatever is his standpoint, he would like to go to justify it. Jalpa. None of these actually help in a good conversation. In samvada, where there is a nice proposition given, it is analyzed, evaluated, and it is questioned. Somewhere this cultural identity is missed, wherein if somebody questions, we take it as though they are challenging your authority. Without questioning, there is no growth. There is no proper understanding possible. So there has to be a room for questions to be asked. So in the 3rd chapter, right in the very beginning, Arjuna expresses his confusion. But the way he expresses is the most hilarious. I find it hilarious. Why is it hilarious? Let us jump straight into the third chapter. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. अथ तृतीयोऽध्यायः कर्मयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच ज्यायसि चेत् कर्मणस्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किं कर्मणि घोरे माम् नियोजयसि केशव। जायसी चेत कर्मणस्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किं कर्मणि घोरे माम नियोजयसि हे केशव। The third chapter. The third chapter is named Karma Yoga. This adhyaya is named as Karma Yoga. In the second chapter, when Bhagavan introduces the principle of Karma Yoga, Karmanye Vadhikaraste Ma Phaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Phalahetur Bhuhu Ma Te Sangostva Karmani. He did not get good enough an opportunity to expound upon it, to explain all the various aspects of Karma Yoga Siddhanta. He did touch upon, he gave a wholesome explanation or a definition. Now that definition is taken up into discussion in this chapter. Therefore, it is named as Karma Yoga. Now, Arjuna speaks. The very name Arjuna, Arjuna means Arjavat Arjuna. Arjavat, that who is a very straightforward person. He does not have crooked thinking. He does not have a hidden agenda. He is very straightforward, simple-hearted fellow. In his simplicity, he says, Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana. If the way you concluded the second chapter, you said that the buddhi, having taken it to a higher level and established in that balance, if that is subtler, greater and more beautiful than in comparison to the field of karma, jayasi chet, if it is, chet meaning if it is greater than, better than karma itself, tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi, then why are you forcing me, niyojayasi, forcing me, and his responsibility, what are the words that he is using to define his responsibility? Ghora karma. Terrible action that you are, terrible responsibility that you are forcing me to jump into. Tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi he Keshava. Why are you forcing me into this? You yourself say that the path of the buddhi is so beautiful. It is sublime. Maybe I am interested in going only into that path. Why are you saying that me leaving this battlefield and leaving my responsibility is not a right decision? See, if he had stopped here, that would have been a very good question. This is where my humor begins. In the next shloka, we should also know when to speak and when to stop speaking. अक्सर हम यहीं पे गलती कर लेते हैं. Out of compulsion of our own emotions, we blurt out things which we should not. So what is Arjuna saying? He says in the second shloka, repeat after me. व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्. He says, Bhagavan, you are saying that I am confused, I have lost my way. I don't think so. See, whenever somebody is taking the wrong path and you try correcting them because it is your responsibility to correct them, what is the first reaction of anybody? Is negate and reject. Arjuna is also doing the same and he is giving a very good justified answer, reason for it. He says, Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me. It is not that I have come with confusions, it is you with Vyamishreneva, Mishrana, confusing standpoints of statements that you are making, you seem to be confused. Therefore, bringing in confusion into my understanding. Buddhim mohayasi ivame. Confusion is not mine, it is yours. And the audacity that Arjuna had, but Bhagavan understands that this Arjuna is very straightforward, as straight as his arrow. He does not have any other hidden agenda. Who is he making this statement to? Swayam Krishna Paramatma himself. He is saying confusion mera nahi, ye to aapka hai. Buddhim mohayasiva me. You are bringing that moha, delusional thinking into me by giving contradictory statements and standpoints. But then, the beauty is, in the earlier chapter as well as here, whenever Arjuna is confused, he is still yearning for that which is absolute good. Shreya. In Kathopanishad, Bhagavan Yamadharma Raja addresses Nachiketa and he says, Shreyaha Preyaha Cha Dua Ubhav. There are two paths. One is of the absolute good nature, the other is of the path of pleasure. See, at every instance of our life, we have choices. We have to choose among those choices. What are the choices that we have? That which is good, absolute good, and that which is not bad, easy. Why is it easy? Because it is the most pleasant path. Least resistance, least effort, maximum benefits. So even in this confusion, what is Arjuna asking? He says, Tad ekam vada nischitya. Bhagavan, you choose. You know my condition. Amongst the two paths that you have said, one is of complete nivritti, where the mind is taken inwardly and the buddhi is uplifted to that highest balance. And the second is the path of karma, which is going out into the externality. Amongst these two, please choose one. Tad ekam vada nischitya. Nischitya, having confirmed that that is the best path. Why? Shreyoham avapnuyam. Aham avapnuyam. I am seeking the best possible path that will be the most dharmic way to live. Tadekam vada nischitya yena shreyoham apnuyam. Bhagavan must be really laughing from various standpoints. One, not long ago, 72 shlokas before, he was shivering. His voice was not coming out properly. His throat was dried up. His skin was burning. And he couldn't hold on to his Gandiva. Now that person has now got the courage to process whatever has been said, understands that there are two paths that were mentioned, and sees the confusion, and he is also ready enough, mind is ready enough to blame Bhagavan. ऐसे confusion मेरा नहीं, आपका है. So Bhagavan must be thinking, good, at least he is available. I can work on him. Second, that he has completely forgotten his breakdown that he had in the first chapter, and now he is willing to tread the path which is being shown to him. That is a very positive note. Looking at these both positive notes, Bhagavan, with a smile in his heart, he starts speaking. Shri Bhagavan लोकेस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञान योगेन सांख्यानाम् कर्म योगेन योगिनाम्. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. I love the choice of words that Bhagavan Vedavyasa uses. He does not say Krishna Vacha. He does not say Parthasaritir Vacha or Yashodanandana Vacha, Nandanandana Vacha. None of those. He says Shri Bhagavan Vacha. We saw this last time. Bhagavan meaning just like Dhanavan. Dhanavan, the one who is endowed with wealth. He is called Dhanavan. Van meaning endowed with. Similarly, Bhagavan, the one who is endowed with the quality of Bhaga. There are 6 qualities. Aishwaryasya samagrasya वीर्यस्य यशश्रियः ज्ञान वैराग्ययोश्चैव षण्णाम भग इति ऋता. These 6 are called, collectively all of them together is called Bhaga. Aishwaryasya samagrasya. Aishwarya, he is the Ishvara of this entire creation. Now when I say creation, let us not limit our understanding to that which we see as this earth and as human beings. There is much more. In our Arati for Parameshwara, we say Deva Devottama, Devata Sarvabhauma, Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka, Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayaka. This is just one tiny speck called this Brahmanda. Like this, there are several parallel Brahmanda, which today we attribute it as multiverse. Not universe, but multiverse. There are parallel verses. Now there are no more universe, right? They are parallel. So there are multiverses. He is the Ishvara, the one who is the absolute Karta, Dharta, the controller of this entire creation. Aishwarya, Aishwaryasya Samagrasya, Viryaha, Viryaha, he has the special ability, the capacity, the strength, unmatched strength. There is no one as strong as this Ishwaratva. Aishwarya, Virya, Yashaha. Wherever you see whatever in this creation is the glory of that Parabrahma Tattva alone. All the glory belongs to that Bhagavan alone. We don't have to go to some spectacular, beautiful places. If you stand on your rooftop and every day, morning and evening, you see amazing sunrise and sunset. What a spectacle it is. After the rains, how those fresh leaves, and the growth is exponential. It's not like, a small growth. By the time you wake up next day, there is a complete, exorbitant, amazing growth that you see. Every aspect is such amazement and wonderment. All this glory goes to that Ishvara alone. Aishwarya, Virya, Yasha. Shri. Shri has two meanings here. One is that all the wealth, all the resources, let me put the word, not just wealth. Wealth is one aspect of resource. Therefore, Lakshmi Devi is often worshipped in 8 different forms. Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Saubhagya Lakshmi, Santana Lakshmi, Vijaya Lakshmi. So she comes in 8 forms. Dhana Lakshmi is only one aspect, 1/8 of Lakshmi Devi's resourcefulness. So all these resources are his, the Shri. And the next aspect is the most beautiful one. That the moment you see that Bhagavan, that Ishvara, your eye stops, your thoughts stop. You are just captured, enamored with that beauty. Ravana says to Meghanath, Indrajit, when you are fighting with face to face with Rama, don't spend too much of time seeing him. Otherwise, you would be distracted by his presence and Saundarya. Imagine, the Shatru is coming with all vengeful thoughts. Even that fellow will come pause. Why? Arre wah! Dikhne mein kya? How beautiful is he? His presence. Even the enemy would stop. None like that Bhagavan's Saundarya. Jnana, Sampurna Jnana. All aspects of Jnana. The origin of all Jnana is in this Ishvara alone. Having all of this, we see in the Vyavahara, in the Samsara, that if any one of this 5 mentioned, even if one of them is there, we become Konyosti Sadrishomaya, none like me. We become arrogant. So the last quality of Bhaga is he has Sampurna Vairagya. Not attached with any of these that which are mentioned above. That is why it really behoves him having these qualities. He doesn't carry the airs of having these qualities. He is completely nirlipta and yet has that presence. Such Ishvara, who is the Karta, Karma Phala Data of this entire creation, such Bhagavan in his absolute presence is speaking this to Arjuna, not as Parthasarathi, not as a friend of Arjuna, not as a ambassador, not as a politician, not as a policy maker, but here he is from his absolute standpoint of his presence. So what is he saying? He says, hey Anagha, see, he was vehemently reacting to Bhagavan, right? Vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohayasiva me. It is you who are confused and you are confusing me also. So usually what would be our reaction? If somebody were to, if I am giving an advice to somebody and that person in turn turns around and tells me that, we will react. But what is Bhagavan saying? He is addressing him as Anagha. Anagha, Agha means Papa. Anagha, the one who does not have even a trace of Papa. Papa buddhi nahi hai usme. So whatever you have stated, it is very straightforward. What you were confused about, you are asking. Therefore, I find it as very pleasant to deal with because you are Papa Rahita. Anagha. Hey Anagha, Lokesmin Dvivida Nishtha Pura Prokta Mayanagha. In this world, there are two paths, two Nishtha. And I have given this in the beginning of the creation. This will be further elaborated in the 4th chapter in the very beginning. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavanaham avyayam vivasvan manave praha manurikshvakave bravit. I gave this right in the beginning to the creator, the Prajapati. And through that Prajapati, Guru Sishya Paramparena, it got to all the others who were taking care of this creation. So this knowledge, this wisdom was given way back then. Lokesmin dvivida nishta pura prokta mayanagha. Here, Adi Shankaracharya ji takes a little deeper meaning. He says, there are always two paths. One is called Pravritti Marga, the other is called Nivritti Marga. Those two words are also so beautiful. Vritti. Vritti means thought. Based on that vritti, we end up doing and engaging ourselves in the act. Therefore, the field of action is also called vritti. The field of action is often recognized, even in Telugu, the word is vritti. But the origin of it is, thought is called vritti. Why is thought called a vritti? Because it originates here, goes through the organs of perception, perceives that world, either through the eyes, nose, ears, mouth, skin, it goes out and then collects, gathers all that information and comes back. There is a cyclic movement of that thought. And because of that cyclic movement, it is called vritti. The other meaning of vritti is also vrittakara, that which is circular in motion. So the thought is in circular motion, so the thoughts are called vrittayaha. This thought, when it becomes amplified, it expresses into action. Prakatita vrittayaha. What is action? That which is now explicitly expressed in the form of action. Therefore, pravritti has several meanings. Pravritti is engaging in the outside field of activity. Pravritti is also meaning behavior. In Telugu we use, right? Vadi pravritti bagundo bagaledu. Pravritti means what? His behavior. Through the behavior, when there is a consistency of repetition of behavior, it is now recognized as the very character of that individual. There is another meaning of pravritti which means character. All this starting forth from the vritti, which now is bahikrata, which is now expressed out, it becomes pravritti. So there is one path of pravritti, and the second is called nivritti, turning that process of our mind which goes out, instead of going out, because I am not interested in that anymore, I turn the attention within. These are the two paths. One is called the karma path, the other is called the adhyatma, nivritti marga. Pravritti marga and nivritti marga. Lokesmin dvividha nishta pura prokta mayanagha. Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. And what are those two paths? Jnana yogena sankhyanam. Through that pure process of logic, that which was given as the Sankhya by Kapila Mahamuni to his mother Devahuti, that very logic is called the Jnana Marga. The second is called Karma Yogena Yoginam. The karma path where the attitude behind the, and that is the second one, second path. Sometimes within our own Hindu way of life, we often hear seemingly very beautiful statements, but logically they don't make sense. You may have heard people say that all paths lead to Bhagavan. Karma, bhakti, dhyana, japa, puja, ashtanga yoga, Jnana Yoga, all of these paths take to that Bhagavan. So the interpretation that people give is just like when you're going on to the top of a hill, you have the steps, then there is the rugged path, then there is a bus route, you can get down at a helicopter. So the understanding that comes is, each one takes us to Bhagavan, each one is an independent path. There are some sadhakas who are karma yogis, there are some who are bhakti yogis, there are some who are jnana yogis, there are some who are dhyana yogis. All paths lead to Bhagavan. Let us not make a khichdi of all of this. Bhagavan is very clearly stating, Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. That both these paths that were given have to be understood as a sequential order. Not as separate paths individually for themselves that they can lead us to the ultimate. That's sequential. Now within the path of karma, all that which we do as sadhana is under that one umbrella called karma. When we do puja, is there no karma involved? There is karma. When we do japa, is there karma? That is also karma. When we do ashtanga yoga, is there karma? Definitely there is karma. Therefore that also comes under umbrella of karma yoga. All of the paths are under the umbrella of karma. The one which is not in that is the Jnana Yoga. Once the person, the individual, the seeker has applied himself in this path of karma, they clean themselves up, thus qualifying for Jnana Yoga. That is the systematic order, sequential order. It is not like you have a menu card and you look at what is the easiest, bestest path that I can follow and choose that. Karma पे बहुत काम करना पड़ता है बाबा. Ashtanga yoga, oh, too much of twisting and turning the body and bhasrika and antar kumbhaka, bahir kumbhaka, rechaka, puraka. Puja. Oh, there is short puja, there is long puja. You can do it in 15 minutes, you can do it for 4 hours. Oh, homa, re bapre. There's so much of smoke in it. Amongst all of this, what seems to be the easiest? Even Jnana Yoga is not that easy. So, what seems to be easiest? Close your eyes and sit. Meditation is the easiest. That has become a big business now. Multi-billion-dollar business. See, whenever we make sadhana as a commodity, it loses its purpose and the direction of it. And the logic, as I said, all paths lead to God. Let us not confuse ourselves. It in sequential order will definitely lead. But it does not mean that karma alone can take you, bhakti alone can take you, or japa alone can take you. Everything merges in purifying the antakarana. That purified antakarana then qualified for jnana when that shravana manana nidhityasana happens. Your own absolute transcendental nature. Lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. And he continues, he says, fourth shloka, न कर्मणा मनारंभम न कर्मणा मनारंभात नैष्कर्म्यं पुरुषोष्णुते न च संन्यसनादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति. Not understanding or not grasping the sequential order, if we find that the path of adhyatma is easier, and then in order to get into that path, you have to renounce everything. Renounce your name, renounce your past, renounce everything, renounce that field that where you are engaged in, and then you are now qualified. No, just by renouncing or the externalities changed, you don't come to that reality, the higher state. That is being stated here. Na karmana anarambhat naishkarmyam purushaha ashnute. Many of us in the field of activity, in the field of our own responsibility, we are like, न रहेगी बास न बजेगी बांसुरी, शुरू ही नहीं करते. I don't why unnecessarily go through all of it. I will not start. Anarambhat. Why? Too much of effort, too much of kaya kashta. Therefore, I give up everything. And then they compare themselves to Look at the sadhu, look at the realized one. He is also not doing anything. I am also not doing anything. I am actually in his state. Naishkarmyam na ashnute. When you can fool somebody for few days that you have reached to that state, therefore there is Naishkarmya Siddhi. But then our own chanchalatva of our own mind will not allow us to stay in that state of non-engaged environment. So anarambha will not give you Naishkarmya Siddhi. Giving up all the responsibilities, that also will not yield the proper result. Nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati. Now here, if we look at our own lives, our minds are so constantly entertaining one after the other, desires after desires after desires. Constantly. For example, if you take the mothers during the 2-month vacation time of the children, poor thing, the mother. Why? She is constantly, what is she busy with? She is constantly, like she has finished breakfast. As the breakfast is being served and everything is being cleaned up, put in the sink, she already has to start planning for lunch. We have also become sophisticated. When such responsibility increases, earlier there was catering. You call the cook home and that entire kitchen division is taken care of by them. Now we have grown from catering. All that you have to do is, there are apps, you choose, you ask, kya khaoge? Order, 20 minutes. You don't have to wait upon, you don't have to travel, you don't have to take the entire Paltan there. It comes to your doorsteps. Responsibility simplified. Otherwise, imagine the breakfast hote hi, lunch hote hi, in between, snack. When you feed them food that you have cooked, no, I am full. 2 hours. Amma, kuch hai khane ke liye? Especially if you have growing children. It is a bottomless pit. With an invigilator which is very, very particular, the tongue. It needs certain things. They will also ask, I want those kinds of, masaladar, chatpata, kadrum kudrum kind of aate jate. Once you provide that, dinner. And if they are playing at night, because it is vacation, at 10 o'clock, 10:30, they come back again. Kuch hai? And if you are asleep, fridge nikalenge, cupboard nikalenge. By the time you wake up in the morning, everything is chaos again. One after the other, there is desires have to be fulfilled, therefore I run and try to fulfill. It is not that it comes to an end. Constantly, one after the other, there are desires entertained. And in order to fulfill those desires, there is karma to be done. And that karma strengthens Now, for all of this, where is the actual cause? The actual cause for all of this chaos that my mind goes through. Because just desires and fulfillment would have been not that difficult. If it fulfills, we have one problem. If it doesn't fulfill, we have another problem. Remember in the second chapter we saw ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. I spent quite an elaborate time during second chapter going through very systematically, elaborately. Now, in the rest of the chapters, I can keep referring to second chapter. Why? The elaboration is already given. When the mind starts entertaining desires, it fulfills, it leads to lobha, greed. I want more. If it doesn't get fulfilled, then it goes to krodha, anger or greed. And once you procure, you want to know, secure, yoga kshema. And when that doesn't happen, fear arises, competition begins, comparison becomes the status. What do they have? How should I have? I should have something better than the rest of them. So chalta rahega, continuous. So for all this chaos that the mind constantly goes through, where is the root cause? The root cause is called avidya. Avidya, ignorance. Avidya of what? Gurudev very beautifully puts it, he calls it as spiritual ignorance. Ignorant of one's own identity. Now that avidya, it triggers kama. And that kama will constantly be like an eczema. Unless you jump into action and fulfill it, it will not allow you to rest. And if you don't want to put the entire labyrinth of effort, there are other methods. And what are those other methods? This also we have seen. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavadarataah partha nanyadastiti vadinaha. Charuvaka rinam krutva ghritam pibet yavat jivet sukham jivet. Why do you have to put so much of effort and so much of, not necessary? You want to fulfill all your desires? Yes. But I need money. If you need money, what do? Put it on credit. आजकल का जमाना तो वही है. चारुवाक सिद्धांत. The entire capitalistic mindset is running on credit. You don't have to pay the entire amount. A little portion of it, sufficient. And the interest keeps growing. Whoever named it as interest, it is not in our interest. It is interesting for them. Therefore, it is called interest. Now, what happens if it goes overboard? Take second loan. Yavat jivet, sukham jivet. Beg, borrow, steal. There are other methods. So this avidya yields a kama, and the kama pushes us into karma. It will not allow us to sit quiet. Without having taken care of this avidya kama karma sequence, It is a challenge. Try dropping everything. You cannot. Such people cannot stay by themselves. अब देखो, बहुत टाइम है आपके पास, ज्यादा कुछ करने को नहीं था उस दिन. Sitting by yourself, what is the immediate reaction? बोर मार रहा है. You get bored sitting with yourself, being yourself. You cannot stay quiet. Now add the technology to it. Earlier, if there was a message to be sent, the postcards, inland letters, it used to take at least 5 days to reach to the other place. What to talk of other countries? That is why we were scared always if there is a telegram news that comes. Because usually it is used for emergency purposes, and there is one ultimate emergency. So somebody got a telegram. And they started crying. Why? Mama ji, aaj mar gaye. The child read that message. Everybody started crying. The father incidentally took the telegram, started reading it, and looked at that fellow and said, "ठीक से पढ़ना नहीं आता?" Why? मामा जी अजमेर गए हैं. आज मर गए हैं and अजमेर गए हैं. There is a huge difference. And if you had to send a message to the other countries, then it would take at least a month for your message to reach, and another month for them to send back. And by the time it would reach, it is almost 2 months. So the impulsiveness was reduced. Now, WhatsApp and voice over IP and all of these, Guntover, it's a call to the other land. What are you talking? ఇవాళ ఏం వండుకున్నావు? Why all this gossip? Because you cannot stay quiet with yourself. So Gurudev used to say something very powerful. If you cannot handle being with yourself, why thrust that onto others? That is called boredom. So constantly the mind being agitated, the avidya is always there. The kama and karma is the place where we are consistently engaged in. Busy. బట్ తెలుగులో సామెత ఉంటుంది, క్షణం తీరిక లేదు, దమ్ముడి ఆదాయం లేదు. దట్ ఈస్ ద కైండ్ ఆఫ్ లైఫ్ wherein you look and appear to be constantly busy, but arriving nowhere, achieving nothing. At the end of the day, at the end of certain age that you reach, you yourself look at your own life and say, what have I been doing? What have I achieved? Years have passed by. What have I achieved? Constantly caught up in this rat race. By suddenly giving it up, you achieve nothing. I'll give you another example before I move to the next shloka. 30 years ago, about 32 years ago, first time I had gone to Uttarkashi. They dropped us off in the bus stand, And from there, all the luggage we had to carry to our Tapovan Kuti. It's quite a steep climb. That side of Uttarkashi, there was nothing. There's absolutely no buildings. There were one or two tiny ashrams here and there. After you cross that bus stand until you reach Tapovan Kuti, it was all empty. Once I had a camp in Uttarkashi, so I brought a lot of people from Dallas. This was almost 18 years after my first visit. I was shocked. I was shocked because there are multiple restaurants. And what I had a good laugh was, there were 4 theaters. What is the majority population? Sadhu sannyasi. Those who have invested in that business have seen that there is a market. That is why it is not just one theater, but there are 4 theaters. So somebody was getting very agitated. The pristine nature of Uttarkashi is all disturbed. They should not have constructed these theaters and other things. Look, those who are not qualified leave this world, escape to as though going to that place will change their mind, change their anubhava. But their own minds are still bleeding with these desires. Now that bleeding mind is the market for them. So wherever you go, you create your own world again. Though externally you may be wearing whatever you are wearing, but internally there is still that bleeding happening. Therefore that prapancha that you have created around is to suit those desires which have not been handled well. Therefore Bhagavan is saying, nakarmana manarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshnute nacha sanyasanadeva siddhim samadhikachati. And he says, a very beautiful conclusion in the next shloka. He says in the 5th one, nahi kaschit kshanamapi jato tishthatya karma krita karyate hyavashah karma sarvah prakriti jair gunaihi. Some of us, when chanting this, we end up saying Sarva Prakriti Jair Gunaihi. There is no extra ka there. It is Prakriti Jair Gunaihi, not Prakriti Jair Gunaihi. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrit. So the first time I heard Pujya Gurudev, it was 3rd chapter. And in this particular shloka, he paused and he said, is there even a single individual in his audience, tens of thousands of people that will be sitting, is there a single individual at least who can claim that I have nothing to do in my life? And he paused, scanned through all those thousands of people sitting in front of him, and then in his unique style of laughing, he said, thank goodness nobody raised their hand. Otherwise, we would have to attend that poor fellow's funeral. Only the dead can claim that there is no activity to be done. Until we reach to that point, see, people get scared to retire. Why? After retirement, what should I do? I see the retired people, they do not have one moment khali. They said, you just retired, we need some kind of, volunteer thing. Can you please come and help? Oh, the list out is so long. Oh, Swamiji, we have this to do, we have that to do. There is not a moment of empty space. Busy with one thing or the other. That is how life is. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi. Not even a single moment where a human can claim that I have nothing to do with. Tishtati akarmakrit. Karyate hyavashah karma. They're constantly being pulled into be working in the field. Sarvaha prakriti jair gunaihi. Everything is embroiled, ensnared with these three gunas. That is how Prakriti functions. Nature functions that way. Either it is tamasic or rajasic or sattvic. One way or the other, we constantly keep ourselves engaged, busy. We cannot be in that moment where I have nothing else to do. As I said last time, to understand this, what am I doing right now? Holding my pen. What did I do now? Dropped my pen. Holding the pen, is it a karma? Yes, no? Thank you. Dropping, is it a karma? Doing a karma or avoiding doing a karma, dropping it, is also karma. The inactivity, which will be further explained, is not when you drop the karma. It happens only when you drop the doership. But instead of dropping the doership, what do? We drop the karma itself, because that is easy. Prakriti Jair Gunaihi, the nature's way of movement is there will be consistent activity. We only wrongly assume that maybe one day all my responsibilities will be fulfilled, I will be done with all the responsibilities, then I will find peace. Once my children are educated, they are married and they are settled, they have their own lives. Thereby, now I have fulfilled all my responsibilities, I will have no more activity. This is called delusional thinking. Whenever I used to go to America, 80% of the flight occupants, who were they? Senior citizens. Businessmen only 20%. Why senior citizens? Their children, their lives, their grandchildren. As soon as the grandchildren are born, there is an invitation. Mom, Dad, can you please come? We need help to take care of the children. Teasingly, I would call them all that they have come to US on diaper visa. Not visitors visa. I used to call it diaper visa. वहां पे करते क्या है? Swamiji, I thought after all the marriage and everything is done, we would not have anything, but children called. उनकी भी तड़प अजीब है. They want to be with the grandchild, but then this setup that you have here is not there. The country there is 2.5 times what we are, and the population is 1/5. You step out of your house, दूर दूर तक कोई नहीं दिखेगा. Roads are empty. Neighborhood is empty. बात करने के लिए कोई नहीं मिलेगा. Though they come for 6-month visa, by the time it is 1.5 month, the sweet time is gone. Book my ticket. Enough is enough. Book my ticket. There is no point in time where life says you will not have activity. That is why many of us, when we look back, childhood is the most memorable. Why? We had no responsibilities. As we grow, as we age, responsibilities increase, you go. Responsibilities don't go. That is how nature works. Either it is tamasic work, either or rajasic or sattvic. But we are ensnared in that prakriti and the way that prakriti functions through those three gunas. Cannot avoid, cannot run away from life. Life means activities constantly happening. There is no pause to it. Let me take some time off. आजकल के लोग बोलते हैं I need some me time. Me time meaning with no responsibilities. I know of families. They are living in the same city. For 3-4 days they go into a hotel and live without responding to the family responsibilities. And they call it my self-repair time. Me time. बोलते हैं ना आजकल me time. I need some me time. There is no such me time. Even that where I go. Do you think activities are avoided? You know, when people go for vacation, if you go alone on a vacation, that is a different thing. But if you're going with family, Baba. You know, there is a place called Disney World. It has all these Disney characters, live format, and they have a lot of exhibition. Every day is an exhibition there. There is one particular place in that Disney World where from all parts of the world, different kind of cultural things are placed for them to experience different parts of the world. It is called Epcot Center. By the time you carry these children and all their food and water and all the changes that you require, and you carry those kids and you come back, everybody is drained out. So that Epcot Center, I expanded it into my own thinking. That abbreviation. I said, every person comes out tired. The idea was to have a different environment so that I don't have to feel responsible at least for a few days. But that in itself is a huge responsibility. After coming back from vacation, you need a vacation from vacation to recover. So it is only a delusional thinking that there will be a time, aayega ek din, where I don't have any activity. If not this activity, some other activity, but you will be engaged in constant activity. There is no moment where there is no activity. So in the next shloka, Bhagavan says, at least, if not major sense of activities, at least, he says, कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य य आस्ते मनसा स्मरन् इंद्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारस्य उच्यते. For whatever be the environment, you are in a pressured environment where you are not in that field of activity. You have been pulled away from it. Though you have been pulled away from it, your mind is still hanging there. We announced the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. To walk on that street now, I feel very shy. The poster वोस्टर सब लगा दिया वहां पे, तो everybody has seen. So now you bring somebody with you. First time, लेके आओ. Now that person is sitting here feeling the most awkward. Why is this fellow coming to this? Why is he bringing me to this? Though he is physically present and that they have been snatched away from their field, but what about the mind? Where is that mind? And this is about that person who is not interested, who has been pulled into this environment. Even those that are interested, while sitting here, aren't we already planning while going back? What are the things to do? Usually on the left hand side there is a fruit shop. I should stop there, purchase some fruits. Tomorrow is Monday, therefore for the breakfast, for the lunch, for the dinner, I need this vegetable, I have to pick up this, pick up that. List लगा रहता है कि नहीं? If not these, at least at 8 o'clock once this finishes, घर जाके खाना खाना है. What should I make? Outside it seems like it is withdrawn, but inside the mind is constantly engaged thinking into that which you are withdrawing from. That day when you take a decision of doing upvas, that is the day you have remembered that today is Ekadashi. That is the day Mirchi Bhaji comes. Hi. And you have taken a vow. This Ekadashi I will do Nirjala. Not even a drop of water. And the Mirchi Bhaji is in front of you. What is happening inside? Isn't it already salivating? And then those that bring that, do you think they will give up? Swamiji, today, I know is Ekadashi, you should not eat dhanya. Mirchi bhaji is not dhanya. एक तो खाई लो. Isn't it, Swamiji? I was giving him that reason in the afternoon. Though I want to be withdrawn, though I want it to be contained, the mind is not under control. It is going haywire. That day when I want to do something withdrawn, the mind seems to be agitated only in that. Now, for a person who is doing one thing, thinking some other thing, isn't it called hypocrisy? ఆలోచించేదొకటి చెప్పేదొకటి చేసేదొకటైతే isn't it called hypocrisy? మిథ్యాచార. So that is what Bhagavan is saying here. Karmendriyani samyamya ya aste. All the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas controlled. I will not see, I will not listen, I will not speak, I will not eat, I will not. Inside, it's amplified. The kachar-pachar inside is amplified to the maximum. Ya aste manasasmaran, that mind is constantly reveling in that which you are supposed to withdraw from. Gurudev used to give an example. If during meditation you are sitting in this meditation class, make sure that you are not thinking about the pink elephant. Tab tak there was no thought of pink elephant. But because it was told not to think about the pink elephant, what is the thought that keeps running in your head? Only that. I sit for doing japa. Does the mind stay? It goes everywhere else. When you are moving that bead that is mechanically rotating, you have reached to the Meru, 108 beads you have moved. When the Meru comes and your movement stops and you say, how did I reach here? Because I was not saying the japa mantra. Where was the mind? Everywhere else. Manasasmaran. Indriyarthan vimudhatma. Though the indriyas are not engaging in the indriya vishayavastu, mind was busily engaged in it. That is also activity. And we end up being constantly dissipating our energies at a mental level. At a manasika sthiti, we are constantly draining ourselves out. Compared to 50 years ago, all the luxuries and sophistication, we don't have to go in a bullock cart. कभी गए bullock cart में? Yes. There may be a generation which will not even know what a bullock cart is. Right? For making your idli, dosa and other things, there is no that effort of constant grinding. All that you do is that which is soaked, you throw it in that machine, one little push. It does the job. You don't have to do anything. Whole family, there used to be the clothes that have to be washed. Put it in the machine. Karna kuch nahi hai. But yet, in comparison to the earlier ages, we seems to have all the sophistication, but more drained and feeling lethargic in spite of all these luxuries. Why? The main mind is not in the control. Topic after topic, it keeps entertaining inside. There is never an effort to put to channelize and clean that mind from inside out. Therefore, it is going haywire. Outside there seems to be no activity, but inside there is a lot happening. This mithyacharatva, the mind constantly agitated and functioning, is also activity. Though not externally, but internally. So the field of activity has to be specifically understood properly. So we will look into that in tomorrow's shlokas. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।